Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And this afternoon on Cool Your Heels with Lillian, our special guest is John Huang, who is the CEO of an SEO company. So good afternoon, John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Lillian.
Well, I am delighted to have you on. SEO seems to be a culprit with many people with all the instruction books and easy how to do this and how to do that. They still get it wrong. So I thought I would help enlighten them about it today.
That's perfect. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. So what got you motivated to put together a company to help people with SEO?
So it started about 7 years ago where I was frustrated. I was working for a fairly large company, and you probably have that in your local market as well, called Yellow Pages. It was a printed directory going to every single home, but they also had a digital platform, which was yellowpages.com or .ca. And I was working there for about 5 years. I was working with a lot of local business owners, small, medium-sized business owners, and they were getting frustrated because they were spending a lot of money advertising in the local marketplace, in the printed ad or digital, but not getting a good ROI. They were frustrated, and they tried some ads as well on Google Ads, and they were not getting good results even from there. So I thought, what other place can they be found on Google? So that's where I did a lot of my self-help, and I kind of started this company on a wing where I knew I had to learn how Google worked, how their algorithm really picked up websites, and figured it out, really. Self-taught and read a lot of books, blogs, material, went to a lot of conferences, and educated myself enough to then be able to offer the service to business owners.
Well, that's good. I know that trying to put an ad out on Google or even on Facebook is a very daunting task, because unless you can track how well your ad does and then translate it into whether you get a return on the dollar that you spend in creating that ad and getting it out in terms of distribution, it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing with digital. There's a lot of unknowns, right? People are not sure what the return really is. An impression, what does a click really do for a client? Ultimately, a business owner, all they really care about is, if I'm putting money out in terms of ad dollars, what am I getting in return, and how am I tracking that? And what we do here at Local SEO Search is really build your authority, make you become the expert, and position you so when people are looking for any of the products or services that you offer, you dominate the local search results page, and people click and eventually will call you or purchase a product from you, right? Like call you or book an appointment with you.
I remember for people who are interested in becoming a host of my station, I tell them to get a sponsor. And they tell me the first thing that the sponsor asks them is how many clicks do they get on the ad or anything that they put on their program, and how do they know that whatever service or goods that they're selling through that ad via your podcast or your program works. And I said there is software out there that will do exactly what you asked.
Yes.
And I said, you need to get that type of software to put in what the ads and stuff that you're putting in with these programs or podcasts. And I tell them the program runs just in a 3-month period. You get heard 1,200 times. So when you play your ad out, your ad gets played 1,200 times. And what you need to do with your ad, if you're not going to invest in that software, is at the end interject and tell them to ask for a certain person when they order something or when they walk into your brick and mortar store. And that way you'd be able to calculate the percentage of people who are responding to your ad, and then you can turn around and tell the sponsor that.
Exactly. So tracking is so critical in the advertising space where an impression or even a click through doesn't really translate to a real lead or a customer. So with SEO, positioning yourself on the search engine with authority where you're organically found, because people are now more savvy than ever today than before, right? So
Yes.
when they see an ad on Google, they're probably not going to click on it unless it's an emergency type of service, like a plumbing or roofing issue where you need someone urgently, right? You need the first person that will come to your door and they're going to click on the ads. However, if it is a larger purchase or a larger ticket price, a purchase or a service that is more of a long-term relationship play, people understand that Google will rank a website based on the authority. Like they feel like Google's doing the best that they can to serve up the best websites based on the search query that you're putting in. So what we try to do is position those business owners with the search intent and the search volume where when someone's looking for the product or service, they appear naturally, positioning them as the experts. And that's not only do you get a good click-through rate, but you have a really good conversion rate as well. Because what's more important is not how many people click on your website or how many times it's served up, but how many people actually call and book a product or service with you, right? And
Absolutely.
buy
Yes.
a product. And
Yes.
so ultimately, if it is a successful campaign, people see real dollar figures in terms of revenue sales that increases their bottom line metrics in terms of profitability, right? And that's what we really bring to the table, where if you run a proper SEO campaign where we're positioning you as that authoritative figure in your local domain or community, we can help you elevate your revenue and sales.
And that's something, folks, that you really need to consider. And the other thing you need to consider is whether the investment on putting an ad out on Google is better than putting out an ad on Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to sit down and talk to John or some of his associates about, because Facebook has a very, well, I would say a peculiar audience.
Yes.
And you have to know that audience well enough, or know your niche audience, which translates to your target audience, in order for your ad really to do its thing. You just can't put it out for everyone, because then you're wasting the money you're investing for the ad.
Exactly. So that brings up a really good point that you're bringing up. Knowing and understanding that platform where you're investing money into, right? So who are their target audiences is, and who are you trying to attract as your ideal customer? So understanding who you want to promote and market to, having a clear message coming across, where then it will convert to real customers that is an ideal customer that you're looking for. It includes the buyer journey and user intent. So understanding where you want to put information, the context, the content, and which platform is so critical in terms of not just SEO and digital, but traditional media as well, and audio and video. So whatever medium that you want to promote, you need to really understand who you want to go after, what message, and if that platform is the right platform for your audience.
And make sure your ad is going to solve the problem to whatever you're trying to attract your ideal client to. It's not going to help them to say, well, I'm this and I've been around for 30,000 years and this and that. What they want to know within your ad or your commercials, how you're going to help them either achieve their dream or to be successful in whatever you're proposing to them.
Exactly. So creating a good message where you're partnering, or you're cultivating the exact messaging with that customer and make sure they connect with that, because it should be custom messaging between each platform and really be very specific to your audience. Don't do broad messaging. Do really specific niche messaging to your ideal customers, and you'll have a way better response rate and conversion rate versus a branded kind of search term or messaging.
What you need to do, folks, and I have done this, you have to do your homework. So you put out a survey trying to find where and how your ideal audience is going to be. And then you peel back another layer and ask them specifically, is there one thing that they've always wanted or needed? What would that one thing be? And then you peel it back again and you offer that one thing directly to that age group that seems to be the best respondent to what you're trying to find. And then you peel it back again and you do your ad. But make sure when you do your ad, you write it out in third person.
Exactly.
The way you
And
write a press release.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple great notes there where, if you have already a customer base, the best thing is go ask some questions, uncover as much information and intel as possible from those customers of yours. And if you're a brand new company and you don't know who your ideal customer is, you need to start getting some real customers to really understand which ones you really want to go after and you want to work with. Because even though they might be paying, they might not be the ideal customers you really want to go after, because they could be pain in the butts, right? So you need to really uncover who you want to work with, create a buyer persona, and figure that out. Once you have that in mind, then you can run different tests and advertising messaging across different platforms to attract your ideal customer.
Which is very important. For example, again, I own a radio station. I know from Google Analytics, StatCounter, Podbeam, and 25 other type of places that gives me statistics. I know that my target audience is from 25 to 35, and it's been steady that way for the past 15 years. And how do I know this? Because I reach out to them, and they consistently always come back.
Exactly. So understanding your audience and then understanding how you can attract more of them. And if they are your best type of audience, figure out what kind of messaging they want to absorb so they continue listening. Keep them engaged. Keep them connected, right? So whatever message you have, make sure you know who they are and create messaging to cater towards them directly.
And the other thing you need to consider, too, is once they answer, then find out what else in the sequence that they would need. So it's almost like you're staying a step ahead of them.
Yes.
So when you put out your next ad, you already know what they want. You already know what additional problem solving you're going to provide for them. And you also want to leave in your message somewhere a little bait.
Exactly. So always have a click-through, like a call to action, but always be as proactive as possible, which is, really be a step ahead. Ensure that you have some sort of hook that is continually keeping them engaged, right? So that they can click through if it's a newsletter, if it's a messaging, whatever it is, right? Like make sure you plan ahead and be proactive.
Try to set up so they leave their email. For example, I have a blog on my site. I also have 100,000 subscribers by word of mouth. And they tell me in their comments all the time that they're drawn to the blog because they can get information there they can't seem to find anywhere else. And I got to tell you, it's a nice compliment. But even in addition to that, on YouTube, for example, they're now spending, get a load of this, they're spending 4 hours listening to my videos on YouTube every time somebody comes in. That's unheard of, folks.
So understanding who your audience is, because once you start collecting that database, you'll have way more intel and you can start pushing stuff at them, right? Knowing,
Exactly. Yes.
and you need to divide your audience members based on their demographics, their spend, the time spent, the regional, the verticals, understanding so you have catered messaging based on who you want to market to. So that's so critical, and drip them directly once you own that database. And that's something that once you have a blog, you have subscribers on social media or YouTube, it's so important to hook them, right? And keep them so that you're connecting with them on a continuous basis.
Absolutely. And it's something that is doable because once you start podcasting, for example, has gotten very, very popular. Well, put your ads on podcasting.
Exactly. It's all about just messaging, keeping it consistent across multiple platforms, because you don't know how consumers or your audience members are absorbing your content. So if you put yourself up on YouTube, on audio, which is podcast, or in the blog in written format, you don't know where they're going to be consuming your content. But the more out there you are, the more likelihood they will.
And if you're not sure, do a test run.
Exactly.
Take out a small ad in Facebook. They're offering it now, especially during the C virus, because people are scrambling to do things digitally now. And just do a test run and see what happens. And then when you get the information collected and, go through the steps that John have been telling you about.
Yeah, so what we focus on primarily is Google, but there's a lot of different mediums out there. We understand the type of clients that go to Google are the ones that will mainly do a larger purchase, and they're more of a qualified buyer. However, that's more of the end of the funnel, right? Top of the funnel is, depending on what medium that you choose, it could be social media. It could be Facebook, Instagram, podcasts, or whatever it may be, right? But you need to start collecting information and collecting data. Even in a blog, it could be top of the funnel, but depending on the messaging, you can have a lot of new subscribers or new followers that you can drip them with messaging. So understanding that whole intent and journey is critical. And that's what we do. We help a lot of business owners plan it out, really navigate through that whole user intent and buyer journey.
Now, what's the biggest advantage by using Google over Facebook? Is it the audiences that you find on one versus the other?
Yeah, so we typically deal with 80% of our clients are service-based, right? It's not really product-based. So if you are a product, I would suggest you do a lot of, Facebook or Instagram and influence marketing, or even on Amazon, like leverage platforms that are very strong on shopping, right? But if it's a service, people tend to be more, savvy in terms of they want to check you out. They want to check out reviews. They want to make sure that you're consistent in your messaging and you're positioning yourself as that expert. So Google, what I find is we deal with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, which is the dentists, the lawyers, the B2B kind of companies. People have larger ticket items, right? So if you're going to be wanting to work with a dentist for 10 years, the next 10 years, they want to do as many fact checks and back checks on you before they come in, right? Especially if they're new to the area. So those type of people who are searching online, they want to make sure whoever they choose is the right type of, company that they want to work with.
Right. Now, does LinkedIn, can you do ads on LinkedIn as well? Because that's all business as well. And a lot of them are large ticket items. I have a lot of presidents, senior vice presidents, and CEOs that come in and listen and take advantage of what I have to offer. So I would think that LinkedIn would also be a good way to put your ad in and to attract them as well.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is a different platform, different medium, and it's a different type of audience, right? Depending on what kind of product or service that you want to push out there. People who want to be I would say occupational people that always want to get better in terms of their status. So they start as a manager, they want to get into VP or senior manager role. They want to continue updating their CV and being present on LinkedIn. So people are there looking for job opportunities, definitely. It's a great platform where you can put content out there and people will read it. The only thing about LinkedIn, just like Facebook, is depending on what product or service that you're trying to attract or push out, it will depend on your messaging and the audience that you want to target, right?
Yeah, but you can find them on LinkedIn.
Y-
Go
yes,
Google how to do it on LinkedIn, but you can find a lot of companies and a lot of
yes,
people who would want whatever you're offering.
yes. The only thing is, as a business owner, they're busy running a business, right?
Yeah.
So I find that a lot of business owners are, just like myself, where we're working many, many hours a day and they don't really have time for social media, right? Whatever free time I have is basically on trying to improve my business or spend time with my loved ones, significant other, children, right?
Yes.
And that's all the time I have. So I don't really have time going on social media like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. I want to be, if I need something, I'm going to actively look on Google, right?
Yeah.
And be in control. There's a different type of buyer who goes to Google with a search intent as opposed to getting ads pushed at people, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a pull strategy where someone's interested in your product or service and they're going on Google actively looking for a product or service in mind with keywords.
Now, does it help if you occupy the first 10 pages on Google?
Yeah, so it's very critical to be actually on the first page of Google as opposed to the first 10. And even more popular is the first 3 results on the first page.
Yes.
Because most people don't even go past the first page, right? So not only do you have to be ranked on the first page, but near the top of the first page to get more activity. And that's where we come in, right? We really help you understand the importance of being there, but strategize on how to dominate that local space.
And you don't need to, John's company wasn't around when I came around with my station, and yeah. I'm on the first 3 more pages of Google, and I occupy the top spot. And I got there because of recommendations and a lot of testimonials, but it seems to make a lot more sense to go through John's company because I don't have that type of time anymore to do what I did originally to get there.
Exactly. So it does take time. Like you mentioned, you started 15 years ago and you ran a good business, right?
Yeah.
You did what a good business would do. Go out there, run, take care of your clients, make sure that you get good referrals and testimonials. You basically did what most bricks and mortar companies have been doing for years. How do you transition that to the digital space, right?
Yeah.
People don't understand that. And that's why we help business owners shrink time by making sure that they have the same representation that they had in bricks and mortar on a digital platform, which primarily is on Google.
That's terrific. John, tell everybody where they can find you and your URLs and your contact information and everything else that will help other people get it right the first time instead of the way I did it.
Yeah, definitely. So you can reach me. My name is John Vong. I own a company called Local SEO Search. If you Google that, you'll find us. We have localseosearch.ca as our main domain, but we also own the .com. And we're based here in Toronto, Canada. But we do service clients all over the world, and we take care of business owners because whoever is looking for a digital representation and wants to dominate their local space with a lot of search terms, we can help you position you so that you can really just take on new inquiries that is localized and that will convert to real customers and dollar figures for business owners.
Which is very important. So, for those who want to hear this interview all over again, please go over to the website https://passionateworldtalkradio.com forward and scroll down on the right hand side where's the menu and you'll find Cool Your Hails. Click on it and you'll see the interview. You can also see it on all social media and also on iTunes and iHeart, and it can be heard on Tuesday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. on amfm247.com /Lillian Caldwell. And before you go away and stray, Bishop Berkeley had this to say in 1744, truth is the cry of all, but the game of the few. Thank you all very much for listening, and until next time, stay healthy.